Joy here with Real Progress in Action. This is my new channel in case you want to watch any of my shows. I am no longer on Real Progressive because of the simple fact that we filed for 501c3 and 501c4. So we have to keep education separate from politics. So that's why you'll only see me on here now. So please click the notification button so you still know when I go live. That being said, tonight I have one of my most favorite people in the world, and I tell him pretty much every other day, Mike from Humanist Report. The reason I got into wanting my own show. So thank you so much for coming back, Mike.
Of course, you're too kind. You're one of my favorite people ever, and anytime, I'm always down. Always down.
So, you know, for those who, I mean, I'm sure all of you guys know who Mike is, but I gotta say, you're like the only independent media I have watched for like 3 years and never stopped.
That's a really big compliment.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm serious. I'm sure I've seen every episode you've done. Whereas other ones I may watch a few months, stop, a year, stop. But you're the only person I've consistently stuck with. And a lot of it is your pronunciation. I like the way.
That's awesome.
I told you that last time, and I'm like, I showed my husband, I was like, listen to the way he talks. Isn't it like so just his T's are very and stuff? And my husband was impressed. We're both
that
English
makes me feel so good. No, that's a really good compliment because my family, like growing up, I had not like a strong Portuguese accent, but my family did. So I always tried to like make sure that I pronounced things clearly because I would kind of get made fun of as a kid for some of the mispronunciations that I had. So I tried really hard to like make sure that I'm pronouncing things correctly and enunciating. So it's been like a lifelong struggle. So that is a phenomenal compliment that you gave me because it's always been something that I'm like self-conscious about.
Oh my God, no way. It's awesome. You know how sometimes you might like a podcast, but their voice is just like, oh, I can't. I mean, people probably say that about me too.
People say that about me too. Absolutely. My voice annoys me when I edit. So.
Oh, see, I'm always live. So there's the downside to that.
There you go.
I tagged you on Facebook last night. I'm not sure if you saw it, but it was my 1 year anniversary of when I joined Twitter. And the first thing I did was ask Stephen Jaffe if he would hook me up with you so I could ask you for an interview. And I put a screenshot on Twitter or on Facebook of me asking you, and you're like, "Hi, Joy. I heard Stephen Jaffe said you'd like to have me come on." And I was like, I put it on Facebook and I'm like, oh my God, I'm fangirling so hard. Oh my God. Oh my God. And that was 1 year ago yesterday. And I was like, how like perfect is that?
It seems like longer because we've kind of gotten like so close over the course of the primary that it feels like we've known each other forever. So the fact that you say that's a year, that's honestly hard to believe. Like it feels like we've known each other for a long time. Like that's crazy. Happy anniversary, wifey.
This is your third time on my show. I've been on your show twice. That's a lot in a year, honestly.
It is. It is. We have, you know, a vibe going. We got to keep it up.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for tuning in. So there's just so much so much going on in the presidential election, of course. Yesterday we had some big news with Kamala dropping. Did you expect that?
I didn't. I mean, it was obvious that she was running out of money, right? So the end was near, but I honestly didn't expect her to drop before Iowa and New Hampshire. I was kind of expecting a Martin O'Malley type situation where you see how it pans out in Iowa to see if you have momentum, and then you go from there. It honestly was shocking to me. Going into this, I actually thought that she would be one of the remaining contenders because you did see a lot of raw political talent. Like I didn't agree with her and I felt threatened by her, admittedly, because I felt like she would be able to convince people that she was as progressive as Bernie Sanders, and people who are just kind of casual political observers don't really know any better. So I was worried about that. But the fact that she's out now, it honestly is surprising. It's really surprising to me.
I agree. And she made the debate for December.
Right.
That's what struck me as the oddest. But then I don't know if you saw this, but Ryan Grimm came out and said she had 2 days to file for the California ballot. And
Yeah.
if she would have, right now she's in sixth in California. She wouldn't have gotten reelected in 22. So that seems to be the strategy. But yeah, all her offices closed. All her people went to Bloomberg apparently. Um,
Really?
yeah, like her
Hmm.
campaign manager did. He wrote a scathing letter about why he was leaving. And it did not paint her in a good light at
No.
all. And then, so he went to Bloomberg, and now apparently a lot of her staff has gone to Bloomberg. So it's kind of started
Hmm.
this thing where it's like, oh, is she being given a VP spot? Like, is this, what do you think
That's
about that?
fascinating. It's certainly possible. I think that she is talented politically, so it's not out of the question that she did strike some sort of deal with one of the others to, be a running mate. That's entirely possible. Um, for her staffers to go to Bloomberg is weird to me because, like, even though I don't agree with Kamala Harris, I do like I felt bad for her staffers, like the person who penned that letter explaining how people moved to New Hampshire and then she closed the campaign headquarters there. That actually was really heartbreaking to me because I couldn't imagine like uprooting your whole life and then having it all be basically for nothing where you're basically stranded. So like the fact that that person would write that letter and then turn around and work for Bloomberg is weird. But yeah, if I had to guess, she's gonna be a pretty big VP option for pretty much anyone but Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. I don't think Elizabeth Warren would pick her because I think Elizabeth Warren would be too afraid to have like two women on a ticket like Hillary Clinton was, even though Hillary Clinton would have been stronger if she picked someone like Elizabeth Warren. But yeah, it's really weird. And I can't wait to see like how this all plays out in the end. I know that we haven't even started voting yet, but I'm ready for the 2020 election to be over. It's exhausting and I want to get back to normality, and it's so difficult to not focus exclusively on the primary because it's so important, but I'm over it already. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. I totally agree with you, but at the same time, like right now we have hope.
That's
And if
true.
we
That is
fast
true.
forward to July and I'm marching at the convention again, I want to rewind back to how we are right now.
That's a good
You know what I
point.
mean? So I'm
Yeah.
kind of trying to relish in it at least a little bit. Once Iowa starts and stuff, then we're gonna see how it all plays out. But yeah, I agree with you. I was very surprised Kamala dropped. So when she first announced, we were all burners were terrified. We were like, oh
Yeah.
shit, she's the one. She's the one. And then the DNC went from her to Liz to Beto to, and it just all kept, progressing. And now it's Buttigieg.
Mm-hmm.
So tons of stuff going on with him. Did you see the protest last night?
Yeah, and they Black Lives Matter of South Bend, just before I came on, I read the letter that they released. That was great. Kudos to them. I
Yeah.
think that these types of disruptive protest efforts are really, really necessary. And, full disclosure, when Bernie got disrupted at Netroots back in 2015, I really thought that helped him. Because sometimes if you feel as if your issues are being ignored and Black issues are being ignored, you've got to kind of shake these candidates and get them to pay attention. I feel like Bernie has improved, and certainly there's always room for more improvement. But with Pete Buttigieg, like, there's this apathy when it comes to Black issues with him. And I think that he believes he can truly win without Black voters. And he's going to be in for a rude wake-up call when he realizes that, I mean, you cannot win. This is the most loyal constituency in the Democratic Party. And they're telling you, pay attention or you're not going to get our votes. And he's going to have to find out the hard way because he's obviously not taking their issues seriously. And quite frankly, he's really not a good mayor. Like, I felt like at first he just didn't have much of a record to go off of. But the more we learn, the more you see that this is kind of a bad person. Like, this is not someone who isn't even going to be, Obama level. Like, this is Bill Clinton level of, just that Machiavellian, self-interested politician who really has no core ideology. He just wants to get elected and have power. And I find that loathsome. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I absolutely cannot stand Pete Buttigieg. And it actually makes me feel a little bit disappointed to say that, because I mean, it's nice, like, in a way, to see someone run who's gay and not have that be like a major focus. I think that that's important. But at the same time, you're not going to get my vote just because you're gay. Like, do better, do more than that. Prove to me that you can look out for everyone. And the dude is nothing more than, a power hungry elite. So I've got no love for him. And Bernie 2020, I cannot stand Pete Buttigieg at all.
Yeah, I hear you. At first, I didn't like him because you can tell he's just a warmonger. Like, you can tell by things he says about disrespecting Palestinians, and you can just tell. And plus his disregard of Medicare for all, things like that. But then the more you find out about his past with McKinsey and all of these things, it's just so disgusting. And so the Black Lives Matter South Bend coming out with that press release was so important, because it also drew attention to the fact that it was not Bernie supporters who did that. The people on Twitter were taking screenshots of one white woman with a Bernie hat and saying, "Oh, look, it was Bernie supporters who protested." They didn't show any photos of the not millions, but like dozen at least, African Americans standing in the back with signs that say Black Lives Matter. They showed no pictures of that. Thankfully, a burner was there and was taking photos. But it's like, the narrative's already out there. What do we do? Yeah, we share, in the comments section, hey, look, this press release, narrative's already out there. So how do we address it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Once a narrative spreads, it's so difficult to like change the narrative and get the facts out there, especially when you have bad faith actors who genuinely want to, make it seem like Bernie Sanders supporters are aggressive and, we're just out to get everyone. And yeah, I don't know. I think that we're going to win in spite of these types of bad faith smears. If we do win, and I'm growing more confident by the day. There's nothing that we're going to be able to do to get them to view us positively, because, they realize that Bernie Sanders is a threat, which is why, like the LA Times today, I'm not sure if you saw that headline. It just said initially that Biden and Warren fell in California, but didn't show that Bernie had taken first place in California. Like, they want to ignore us. And when they're not ignoring us, they're trying to perceive us as these horrible people. It's just like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And it's going to make victory that much sweeter, because we've been doing this now for how long? We've been in this, this battle for Bernie for 4 years now. It's not going to work. We're done. We're not taking the bait. It's just about organizing, and that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. We have over 1 million volunteers.
That's insanity.
That is insane. Like,
yeah,
it's incredible. And, I was doing research, and it turns out that some of the candidates don't have a single campaign office, like, anywhere. Okay,
how do you? Gabbard, she doesn't have one?
She has one in Honolulu.
Really?
Just her office. Not a single campaign office anywhere in the States. Not even Iowa or New Hampshire. Cory Booker, none. Castro, none. How? We have 22 campaign offices in Iowa alone. We have 14 in New Hampshire. That's how you get votes. Yeah. How can you get votes if you have no ground game? I don't understand that.
I don't know how that's even possible to run a campaign without, a campaign headquarters. It's got to be extremely difficult. Like, a lot of grassroots, like congressional candidates do that until they have enough money to rent out headquarters. But if you're a presidential campaign, like, you have to have headquarters. Like, I just can't imagine how you can be competitive without that. So that's actually really startling to hear. That's weird.
Mm-hmm. So a viewer told me that, and I researched it because I was like, no way, that can't be. It's true. And it's really incredible because now you understand why they're so low in the polls. Nobody's getting
Right.
the vote out. We're the ones knocking on doors and making phone calls and everything. Drawing people meeting supporters. That's how you get votes. So yeah, that was pretty astounding. I know with Tulsi, you and I are kind of like we get the brunt of the
Oh
hate.
yeah.
You and I
I'm the
really get
target today.
it.
Yeah, rip my mentions today because I said something.
Oh, really?
Well, I made the point that it's delusional for people to think that Tulsi Gabbard and Bernie Sanders are like working together in some secret move. Like they're opponents for each other, like it or not. Now, I'm not going to say like you have to vote for Bernie Sanders. Of course, those votes have to be earned, and whatever, yada yada yada. That wasn't my point. My point was that like stop fooling yourself. They're running against each other currently. It's weird to think that, oh, they're both in this together, but they're not anymore. They're not. In the event, Tulsi were to endorse Bernie Sanders, that'd be one thing, but she's staying in this until the convention. That's what she said. Which means that is a bunch of votes that would otherwise go to Bernie Sanders, possibly. I'm not going to say that all of her votes would go to Bernie Sanders, but like, it's just a matter of the point I was trying to make was that if we consolidate our votes and we go into this like unified, we'll be stronger at beating the establishment. But if you have someone in who isn't rising in the polls and she claims to care about Bernie Sanders' message, then my point was if she truly cared about that message, then you'd back Bernie Sanders. Like I wouldn't run if I truly believed in what I say I believe in, ending regime change wars and whatnot if I were her. But I mean, it's her decision. But I was just trying to make like basically a matter of fact point. But rip my mentions. I'm a bought and paid for shill. Yeah, and I'm a neoliberal, which is interesting because I feel like I'm shifting further and further to the left. So the fact that I'm called a neoliberal is actually hilarious. But I mean, it's the same thing. I try not to let it bother me, and because that toxicity shouldn't influence our decisions. Like I'm a political commentator. The whole job that I have is to share my opinion. So I can't let that influence me. I have to say what I think is true. And I think it's the case that Tulsi and Bernie are opponents currently. They can be friends. Bernie Sanders says he's friends with Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren. Great. But at the end of the day, if you're not backing Bernie Sanders, then you're running against him. And that's a fact. I don't know what to do if that's offensive to people. That's a fact.
It's true. It is so true. And, things happened 4 years ago with them. 4
Right.
years is a lifetime, especially in politics. Do they care about each other? Of course they do. Are they friends? I'm sure. That has nothing to do with working together. Vote for who you want. I will never tell you who to vote for, like you said.
Totally.
But at the same time, like, if Bernie gets elected, she's going to be in his cabinet some capacity, like 99.9%. So maybe you could vote for the person who has a chance of winning and then get her as well.
And she's so young. She can run again in 2024. You know what I mean? Like,
she's younger than I am.
Right. And look, it doesn't.
This is his last chance.
Exactly. And it's not like I'm saying, oh, drop out Tulsi, endorse Bernie. You have to vote for Bernie. Like, I don't really care who you vote for. But the point you made is sound. But on one hand, I understand where Tulsi supporters come from in the sense that there's a lot of bad faith smears and criticisms of Tulsi Gabbard from people in the establishment. I get that. Like, we're burners. We put up with that as well. But there is a line that you have to draw. And some of the like critiques that I've seen, or the responses to critiques of Tulsi that I've seen, are downright unhinged. And I responded to one just before we came on, who claimed that I was bought and paid for. Now, I have no idea what they're talking about. If I were going to sell out, I would assume that doing the Dave Rubin grift would be more lucrative than going hard left, because there's not much money in hard left. But you have to be able to accept that your candidate is not perfect, and criticism will only strengthen that candidate. And the reason why I stopped supporting Tulsi Gabbard is because she moved away from me ideologically. I desperately was looking for anyone to possibly carry the torch, and Tulsi Gabbard was basically a top option for me until she started to pivot away from Medicare for All. And that was really the point where it was like, okay, if you're not in favor of banning duplicative coverage and you want that for-profit motive, then you and I have different worldviews. I'm about the decommodification of healthcare. I'm about ending capitalism. So I want someone who's not like a blank slate, who's not left, not right. Like I want you to have a cohesive ideology so I can predict what types of policies you'll implement. Like I don't like this. I see it with Andrew Yang too, not left, not right, forward. I don't like that. Like I want you to be left or right. Like I want to know what I'm getting. Like I want to vote for a surprise. Like this shouldn't be a loot box where you vote for it and then you don't know what the fuck you get. Like, no, tell me what you believe in and I'll decide based on that. But, it's a matter of if a candidate isn't going to represent people and they're going to be criticized, they can do one of two things. Either, align with the views of people who they support or move away from it. And Tulsi Gabbard, I think, has signaled to people that she's not really with the progressive wing. She's just kind of, she's anti-establishment. If you're right wing, you can support her. If you're left wing, everyone's welcome here. When I don't want to work with the right, I want to defeat the right. I don't want to win over Trump supporters. I want to defeat Trump supporters. I want to defeat fascism. I don't think that there's any way that we can have a scenario where both sides win. We have to defeat the right because they are terrorizing the planet and the country. So that's my view, and people don't have to agree with that. But when I make the point that, Tulsi isn't an asset to Bernie if she's running against him, that doesn't mean that I believe she should drop out. It's a democracy. She's free to run. I'm just saying that's my opinion, and I'm not voting for her. You can hate me for it, but come with the facts and don't say that I'm a shill. The one that I saw that was, who was it? I can't remember his name. It was one of the Nico people said that once I took the $20 million from Jeffrey Katzenberg, that's when I started to really change my views. And I'm like,
yeah.
And the reason why he says that is because the Humanist Report is part of TYT Network, which means TYT Network is my multi-channel network partner. So every single month, they take like 10% of my ad revenue, and then they promote me. They kind of protect me from copyright strikes. Before TYT came along, I was considering signing with just random ass company. Like everyone who is a bigger YouTuber usually signs with them when you get big enough, so you kind of protect your channel. And the need for that is kind of, it's not as much of a big deal anymore from what I understand. But, I've stuck with TYT and they don't have control over my content. But the thing about the Jeffrey Katzenberg deal is I've said, look, I don't like that they took that investment. And I didn't even know who the fuck Jeffrey Katzenberg was until they took that investment. I can disagree with that. And I can say that because they don't own the Humanist Report. Like I'm paying them to promote my channel. So to say that I'm like a sellout is extremely weird. And it just kind of misses the point. Like people have to rationalize some reason why, we don't agree with them. But it's absurd to me. Like if I wanted to sell out, trust me, I would be a right winger, not a hard left winger, because there's no money in the left. It's all in the right. Like you see why people are shifting to the right, like Dave Rubin and Tim Pool. Like that's where the grift is. So to accuse someone on the left of selling out is stupid. So that's my rant. Sorry to.
No, absolutely. My thing with so many Tulsi supporters is anytime you criticize her, and it will be so valid, and it's not hateful, and there's no name calling, and there's no nothing, insert comment about DNC 2016. I was there. I don't need your reminder. That does not absolve her from everything henceforth. Mm-hmm. That does not give her a pass for saying and doing anything in the entire universe because of 2016. No, I'm still allowed to hold people accountable. And I actually gave a challenge in a comment thread that said, if you can defend this, there you are. Okay, I said, if you can defend this, and I believe it was pointing out that she hadn't said anything about Bolivia in like 8 days. And Bernie was the only presidential candidate who said anything, and he said it the day of. And I said, but all they do is Bernie, Bernie, Bernie. And, I said, if you can defend this without saying Bernie or DNC, bring it on. Not a single person replied. That's my issue. We have
Yeah.
to hold her accountable just like everyone else.
Yeah.
And also, when you can't say anything about Tulsi because Bernie's friends with her. Okay, well, there's tons of Bernie bashing all throughout this thread.
Yeah.
So why is that okay? Because, I mean, let's keep it real. If Bernie and Tulsi do end up working together, there's a lot of bullshit between supporters right now, and
Mm-hmm.
there's gonna need to be some healing there, because it's gotten bad. I mean, it really
Oh,
has.
totally. And it's because
I
people
mean,
don't
you
want
and
to
I
take criticism.
really deal with it.
We've been in the trenches, and I've been trying to like stay out of the bullshit because it's just too much. But at the same time, like I feel like my job is to like educate people, and people need to acknowledge that politicians are not deities. Like they're supposed to represent us, and that means that we need to allow good faith criticism. And of course, the same is true for Bernie. Like I think that Wendy Muse on Twitter, shout out to her, phenomenal criticisms of Bernie Sanders with regard to
Yes.
race. Phenomenal. I have my criticisms of Bernie Sanders. I don't think that he handled the reparations question very well because I support reparations, and there's different disputes about ADOS versus whether or not that's the best strategy. Whatever. I support reparations, and I don't think Bernie Sanders handled that enough. Like you have to help. Like criticizing candidates is important if you want good politicians, right? Because people in this day and age, politicians are garbage. And AOC said it best recently. Like, there's a lot of pressure to conform, like, and get you to kind of be co-opted or acquiesce. And so, if you don't apply constant pressure to these politicians, including Bernie Sanders, then you're going to get screwed. And when Bernie Sanders gets elected, I'm going to be critical of him if he does things that are bad, because politicians are running to represent us. It's not the other way around. Like, we're not supposed to represent them. No. So, I mean, I think that people need to realize that criticisms from the left of candidates are good. That's really important. So, like when we say Tulsi Gabbard shouldn't go on Breitbart and legitimize a white supremacist outlet, don't take that as an insult and recoil. Like pressure her to do better. You know what I mean? That doesn't, like, I haven't said cancel any one politician. I've canceled everyone but Bernie, but I'm not saying you should cancel them. Like, it's just a matter of make your own decisions and let us make our decisions, and don't assume bad faith when clearly people like me are on the left. Like I'm a left winger. I'm been accused of being extremist and radical, but that's a different story for a different day. Maybe it's partially true, but it's all about getting the policies, not the personalities of politicians that we love. I'm not a fan of politicians. I'm not going to stand politicians, even though I love Bernie. But it's about like I support Bernie because he supports policies that I support. That's all it is at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And I had someone in a Tulsi thread a week ago literally accused me of being a Warren supporter pretending to be a Bernie supporter so that I could bash Tulsi. What? What? Okay, do you want pictures of my Bernie tattoo? Like, what can I... A Warren supporter, can you look at my page? Seriously, look at my page. Like, they don't even, like, people who insult us don't even look that deep. They're just like, oh yeah, you're totally a Warren supporter.
It's so comical.
I'm just like, I have to laugh.
They can check the tapes, Joy. Remember, like, I think the first or second appearance on here, I was saying that Warren wasn't so bad, and you were like on me for that because I was trying to be like
last time I came on your show.
Was it? Yeah. Because you were proven right. I was not a Warren supporter from the beginning, but I was trying to not, like, part of my self-reflection is that I kind of felt like back in 2016 I was super toxic, and I'm trying not to do that, in 2019. I've tried my best, but I tried not to go into this like bashing everybody in solidarity. Let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya. That that kind of fell apart. But I was trying to like give Warren the benefit of the doubt, and she face planted. So there's nobody else in this race that I'm interested in supporting. It's just Bernie Sanders, by a mile and a half. There's just nobody that even comes close. It's not even a question in my mind.
Yeah, that hurt my heart. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, Mike.
Yeah.
Take the blinders off. No, dude, no. But I understand
Yeah.
the want. It is, I don't
Right.
want to believe that there is only one candidate I can support. I don't want to believe that. She's done some good things in the past, so I'm going to feel like, okay, she's had a change of heart. And
Hmm.
this is where we're going to go now, and maybe they can even team up. I get that.
Right.
Like, I totally get it. And I think that's what a lot of people were doing, and then they just realized, oh my God, she's even worse than I thought she was to begin with. Um,
Yeah.
and speaking of her, she the Sunrise Movement, I'm not sure if you saw this, but they've been doing they decided that they may want to endorse a candidate. Now,
Mm.
obviously, the candidate should be Bernie. He's been talking about
Duh.
climate change since the 80s.
Yeah.
And climate change is a real. And but at the same time, they want to do it democratically, which I understand, except actually, after Working Families Party. So I can
Oh yeah.
appreciate that. The first vote came out today, and Bernie was first, but Warren was only 17 points behind.
Hmm.
That concerns me. That's a little too close for comfort.
Hmm.
So what are your thoughts? What do you think are, her selling points of climate change that could sway people to her?
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, she adopted Jay Inslee's climate change plan, and he was kind of like the climate change candidate. But the biggest thing for me is that you're not going to get anything accomplished unless you have a movement behind you. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, just on paper, she had the better plan than Bernie Sanders. I don't think she's going to get anything accomplished. And I'm not trying to be defeatist. I'm just saying that she doesn't understand the necessity of organizing, right? She's kind of a top-down policy wonk, whereas Bernie Sanders knows that real change comes from the bottom up. This is what MLK Jr. knew. This is what FDR knew. This is what anyone who has accomplished like huge change in this country knew. And she doesn't get that. Like this normal legislative process where you tell Congress to propose a bill and then you plan to sign it into law. But if it doesn't happen, then okay, that's it, guys. That's not going to suffice. Like we need every single person to occupy their state legislatures. We need a general strike. Bernie gets that. And so if we actually want action on climate change, that's our best shot. Even if Bernie implements that strategy, it's not a guaranteed success, but it is our best chance. And if Shama Sawant of Seattle showed us anything, it's that this type of grassroots organizing, it really can make a difference. So with anything that Elizabeth Warren wants, I'm sorry, it doesn't even matter. Like even if at this point, if she came out and she had a better policy proposal than Bernie on anything, which I don't believe she does, maybe the filibuster, maybe that's it. But let's say that she was in favor of true Medicare for all, and she was polling ahead of Bernie, and it seemed like it would make sense for us to kind of pull votes behind Elizabeth Warren. I would be very reluctant to do that because you have to have a plan and how to get these things implemented. And she hasn't said anything about like keeping this movement going. So I'm afraid that we'd see another Obama situation where the movement dies once you get, elected, and then that's it. And then you get nothing accomplished. Like we need an organizer in chief. And the way that Bernie has laid that out proves to me that if we're going to have a shot, it's going to be with Bernie. Again, not guaranteed because the amount of hurdles that we are going to have to overcome, it's enormous. But you have to at least have the right strategy to have a chance, and she doesn't have that. So Elizabeth Warren ain't it. And I kind of tried to, digest the prospect of an Elizabeth Warren presidency back when she was, at the top, and I couldn't. It made me feel depressed because I realized that this is going to be another Obama. She's going to be probably better than Obama, get maybe a little bit more things accomplished than Obama, but all of these types of reforms will be undone. Reform will be undone. Revolution and, it's something that is more permanent, like the New Deal era. That was a political revolution. Nobody wanted to challenge the New Deal until decades later because it was so popular. That's what we need. And nobody but Bernie is bringing that, which is why for me, and by the way, when we were talking about Elizabeth Warren, I think it was with regard to who would be like a VP for Bernie. And I think I said that she would be the best choice. And that's when you were like, Mike, what are you talking about? For me, I kind of feel like it was more cognitive dissonance than anything, because as I kind of alluded to, like with the Tulsi situation, like I just want anyone who Bernie can pass the torch to, because he's getting old. This is our last chance. If he doesn't win, he's not going to be president. So I want someone, anyone who has that, organizer mentality to possibly be able to carry on his legacy. And what this primary has been useful in showing us is that it's certainly not Elizabeth Warren, and it's not Tulsi Gabbard. The only one who I could see possibly in the future is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because she does have that organizer mentality. But besides her, I honestly can't think of anyone else. Maybe Ro Khanna. It's tough. Like, the options are very limited, and that's if they want to even run for president, because I don't want to run for president. Bernie didn't want to run for president. You know what I mean? Like, who wants to be president unless you're a psychopath? Bernie's running because nobody else will do what he wants to do.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't know what else to say about the situation. It's Bernie.
Yeah, it is. And that's kind of daunting, because it's like, it feels like everything weighs on him, just us getting him in there. And then if and when he gets in there, then the real work begins. And that's one of the things I love about him. He never told us he's doing shit. He always said, when we're in the White House, he tells us straight up, we are definitely going to have to, kick ass once, when he would get elected. I'm still burning turn 2020. I told Miss Nina again 2 weeks ago when I met her, I was like, VP, burn and turn. And
what'd she say?
Well, now her answer is very different, because when I first said it to her, she's like, oh, okay. And she would laugh. And now she goes, well, I'd have to be interviewed for it. And I'm like, oh, okay. She's kind of warming up to it, I think. Because that would be a dream team. You think Mike Pence could have a conversation with her? Oh my God, that would be the best debate in the universe. Oh my God.
Totally. And who better to carry on the torch than Nina Turner? Like, she would be able to run for president after Bernie, having the experience as vice president. And if she were the vice president, like the running mate, they'd be unstoppable. Like, can you imagine? Because I kind of like Nina Turner more than Bernie, just because she has that power to give speeches that nobody moves me like Nina Turner. Like, I've listened to some powerful speeches, and she really moves me. And that's not to say Bernie doesn't move me. His speeches are amazing, but there's something about Nina Turner. Like, she is the one who can definitely carry on the torch. So yeah, I'm all in on Bernie Sanders, Nina Turner 2020. It's got to be her. And at first, the only reason why I wasn't thinking that would be realistic, one was because I didn't think she wanted it, and two was because I felt like Bernie would not really want to pick someone who was only a state senator, because then there would be this idea that, oh, well, there's no experience there and you're old, so we'd want someone with experience. But I mean, everyone is caping for Mayor Pete now. So, I mean, they kind of undercut that argument themselves, right? So, it's Nina Turner. There's no, if she were the VP, it would be amazing. And in the event Bernie won the nomination and he came out and announced Nina Turner as his running mate, I think I would literally faint. That would be too much for me to handle.
I would lose it. Absolutely. I'd be in the fetal position, screaming. Oh my God. I just got goosebumps. Right? I can't, oh my God. I can't.
It's almost unfathomable because of the state we're in. It's we can't, I can't imagine anything that good happening to us. But if that were to happen, can you imagine the turnout? The turnout would be insane, because think of her giving those stump speeches. I mean, she'd still give the stump speeches regardless, but as VP, I mean, they'd just be unstoppable.
Yep. And she does not hesitate to call the Dems on their shit, which is, she's someone who's always been a Dem, but she will call out the Dems, which is what I love, because not enough people do that. You are the company you keep, and you always complain about the Republicans. You never donated to the Republicans. You never voted for Republicans. Why are you focusing on them? Your party is the one letting people die in the streets. You should be holding them accountable, and Nina does. And that's how I feel, oh shit, stuff would really get done. Plus, we would have a first woman VP. Plus, we would have a first woman of color. Like this,
Mm-hmm.
it would be like a win-win all around.
And then we'd almost certainly have the first woman president be Nina Turner, because I
Right.
think that that would be such a powerful presidency. They would be so effective at organizing that I truly believe that we can see like an FDR situation where you have like a good 12 years to affect change. Like Bernie, assuming he gets 2 terms, like that's not enough to affect change. Like you would
Right.
ideally need someone to carry the torch. And my initial thinking was kind of like, okay, he just needs to do this political revolution, which is kind of like a paradigm shift or like a cultural revolution in a sense
Mhm.
politically, where, the Democrat who runs won't be able to be successful unless they run on Bernie's, legacy. But
Right.
that's not a sure bet. Like capitalism is too strong of a force. It's going to corrupt whoever runs after him, unless it's someone like Nina Turner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I sent it to you today. Did you see Elizabeth Warren's new t-shirt in her store?
Was it the capitalism without rules is theft? And then somebody scratched out the without rules.
Yeah, capitalism without rules is bad or something. It was
It's such a milk. You know what she's trying
oh,
to do? She wants, because she knows that that capitalist label is hurting her with youth voters. So she's trying to like be critical of capitalism, but she's doing it in the most milquetoast way possible, and she doesn't realize how bad it comes off as pandering. Like for me, I hate capitalism, and on my show, I've been trying to drive home an anti-capitalist message. Now, I haven't like advocated for a particular ideology. I consider myself like a democratic socialist. But there are people who have different ideologies, libertarian socialism, anarcho syndicalism. There's a number, but basically, my whole thing is question capitalism because it's killing you. It's literally killing all of us. And she knows that that's what you have to say to win over young people. But nobody's nobody's gonna buy that because she can't even get like a basic message right about capitalism. Like capitalism without rules is theft. Like that doesn't even make sense. Capitalism is theft. It literally
yeah.
is built on the theft of our labor. Like what a horrible slogan. Like embarrassing, embarrassing.
Well, Yang says something about like capitalism with humanity or something like
Mm.
that.
Human-centric capitalism.
Human-centered capitalism.
How does that work in practice? Like capitalism is inherently inhumane. Like the whole point of capitalism is to make as much money as possible. It pits us against each other. And the only options that we're given are like means tested, shitty neoliberal policies that pit the working class against the poor or against the middle class. And capitalism is inherently evil, and we can do better than capitalism. I mean, human beings are incredibly creative. We can come up with something better. I don't care if you think that, democratic socialism isn't the option. Just acknowledge that capitalism is flawed to its core and it needs to be questioned. Like that's been my whole agenda, I guess, for lack of a better word, over the past year or so, because capitalism is literally killing us and people need to not be afraid to question it.
Absolutely. I think, even just putting that t-shirt out just shows she's still going to adhere to that label, but just kind of trying to spin it for the kids who are
Yep.
questioning going to the socialists. It's like, well, it's this kind of capitalism that's bad, and that's not what I believe.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm sorry, but she stood up and cheered for Donald Trump when he said America will never be a socialist nation. We're never going to forget that. That was like a permanent stain on her record. She cheered for that fascist when he said America will never be a socialist nation. Strike one, you're out. Sorry.
And then she copied the socialist platform. So which is it? Like, you don't want what Bernie offers, but you're still going to offer it, or like which one is it? Because
she wants it both ways.
mm-hmm. That's why anytime a Warren person comes at me, I just say she gave a standing ovation to Trump. Period. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Because you can't change their minds. And then they'll say, well, it depends on the context. Trump could literally say, I love you all. I'm changing my ways. I want peace on earth. And I still wouldn't give him a damn standing ovation. It's Trump.
No.
That there is
No.
no context.
Yeah, and even if he did change his ways, which he would never do, that still doesn't erase all of the harm that he's caused,
Exactly.
like the deaths that have happened under his watch, under his leadership, in foreign countries, the drone strikes. He just announced a plan, his administration, that would take almost 700,000 people off of food stamps. That means that people are going to be more malnourished. Some people may die.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. So he's never, ever going to be welcomed. He needs to be defeated thoroughly, and Trumpism itself needs to be defeated because it led to the rise. I shouldn't say it led to the rise, but it certainly exacerbated the problem of white supremacy and fascism. And now you kind of see this global phenomenon because what happens in the United States affects other countries. And we see these far right movements, pop up around the world. It's happening in Brazil. It's been happening in France. And it's horrifying. So for her to cheer anything that Donald Trump says, not to sound like a hack, but I'm going to sound like a hack. It's horrible. Like, Trump is someone who should never be celebrated in any circumstance whatsoever. He is a morally reprehensible human being who has to be defeated. Everything he stands for and himself.
Absolutely. And how about, okay, who am I going to say? A certain Democratic candidate is really starting to say shit that sounds like Trump.
There's a couple.
Who are you thinking?
So, definitely Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg,
Bingo.
without question. Especially Joe Biden, especially when he told an immigrant activist to vote for Donald Trump. At that point,
twice.
Yeah, twice. You have to drop out at that point. Have you not embarrassed yourself anymore? Like, have you no shame? Have you no decency, good sir? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I mean, incredible. And it was an immigrant he told that to, who was talking about his pain of him and his family. And he said, well, go vote for Trump then. Then somebody interviewed him and in an article, and he said, who do you think is doing a good job on immigration? To the gentleman, he said to go vote for Trump, and he said Bernie. So
good.
I thought that was awesome. Really, really good. So yeah, that part pleased me, but I'm thinking, how can you tell an immigrant who is hurting, who is coming to you to share their story? And then it was funny because they asked Bernie the next day, in an interview, do you think that basically, do you think it was okay when Obama deported all these people? And Bernie goes, no. Like, literally just said no. End of story. That's how it should have went. He shouldn't have said, but there is no caveat. It was bad when Obama did it. It's bad when Trump is doing it, period.
Yeah. And that's the problem with Democratic Party loyalism, is you can never question what happened. But what a lot of people don't like to acknowledge is that Donald Trump, even though his immigration policy is the most cruel, he is building on cruelty from Bush and subsequently Obama. Obama had the alien transfer exit program, and that was just disgusting. What, for those of you who don't know, they would deport someone and drop them off somewhere random in the country where they were unfamiliar with. And of course, that would leave them vulnerable, right? Not to mention, you don't have anywhere to go, but sometimes they would be dropped off in places, for example, in Mexico, where they're controlled by the cartel and a lot of gang violence. And that would make them susceptible to gang violence or getting robbed. It's just, the point of it was to be cruel for cruelty's sake, because they view that as a deterrent. And that's what Trump is doing. That's why he's separating families, because he wants other immigrants to get that message. Hey, if you come here, this is what you have to look forward to. Now, it's not a choice for a lot of immigrants. Either they leave their country, because we destroyed it, by the way, in most instances, or they die. Like, it's not an option for them. So, that context can't be lost. Like, when we see Joe Biden talking to that immigrant like that, he's saying that he's telling an immigrant activist to vote for Trump while there are 70,000 children who have been caged by Trump's administration this year. I mean, at that point, you're disqualified. You can't run as a Democrat, because that is so far removed from what the party used to stand for. Even Reagan was in favor of amnesty. So to hear him say that, it shows how far the Democratic Party has fallen. And on top of that, I don't know if you saw, Mayor Pete was asked by an immigration activist at a recent rally, and there's no video of this, just like a text transcript, whether or not he believes that immigrants should be able to buy into his Medicare for all who want it. And he said they can buy into it, but they wouldn't be given the subsidy. Now, if you know someone who's an immigrant, 9 times out of 10, they came here from a poor country and they are struggling to make ends meet, and they pay taxes. They're paying into our system and they're not getting the benefits of that system. He's not even willing to offer them a subsidy, which means they won't be getting insurance under Mayor Pete, which means he's literally willing to let them die. So if you're an immigrant in this country, just because you're an immigrant, and you're not an actual citizen, but you're still an American, but you're not an actual citizen, Mayor Pete, if he were president, you get to die if you get cancer. I mean, how inhumane and cruel is that? Especially when you consider Latin America has been ruined by our policies, not just the drug war, but coup d'etats. I mean, we did a coup in Chile. We backed Pinochet, once a socialist. Salvador Allende got elected, and he was a brutal, brutal dictator. He tortured and kidnapped people. This is our legacy in Latin America. The blood is on our hands. So, if I was a benevolent dictator, anyone from Latin America who was affected by our policies, they get fast tracked to citizenship. Anyone who's here now, they're Americans. They get citizenship. The fact that this is even debatable, there's no core American value, like we were told, like welcoming immigrants. We're all a nation of immigrants. We're a boiling pot. No, because that's not the way that we're acting. It's fucking cruel, and it's honestly nauseating.
It really is. Bernie's actually the only one who has said, yes, I would give immigrants Medicare for all. Tulsi also said she would not.
Oh, she did? I didn't even see that.
She did.
Yeah, that's indefensible. I'm sorry. That's
on the
completely
debate, she
indefensible.
did say that. And to me, it's like, how can you say aloha? How can you say you love everyone? How can you say you're humanitarian? How can you say these things if you will deny anyone healthcare? I don't care, anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are like walking here in their bare feet, starved, and they have injuries, and you're saying they can't have healthcare. That's not okay.
Yeah. They've otherized them to the point where they don't see them as human beings. Because if you did see them as human beings, then you would believe that human being should be afforded all of the things that you get. But because they're immigrants, they don't get healthcare. So if they get an accident and they're bleeding out, no healthcare for you. I mean, you're a bad person if you believe that. Like, I'm sorry, there's no way to rationalize it other than you're a bad person and you think that other human beings are inferior to you because they're not Americans. When in actuality, or specifically because they're not citizens, because they are Americans. They contribute to America. They pay taxes. They are part of American culture. They're Americans. But because they're not citizens, you think that they're literally inferior. And I find that absolutely unforgivable and indefensible.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. So we kind of touched a little bit on Yang. Yeah, I know you saw the pictures and the video last night. I was losing it. Okay. I know the audience had to see it. You guys saw it, right? Okay. Why? What is going on? Okay, there is something. Okay, Yang, I believe, is truly a walking meme. I think he is an entertainer. He stage dives. He, goes conga line dancing. And now he sprays whipped cream in guys' mouths who are on their knees and makes a face when he does it. What was your reaction when you saw that?
I laughed. The memes that were produced for that were great.
Oh
there was one that I saw, his manager in the background. It said me, and then the whipped cream was $1,000 per month, and the guy taking it in was my landlord. That was the meme, and I laughed
Yeah,
so
yeah,
hard. So fucking funny.
His, if
And
you watch the video, his campaign manager is in excruciating pain. Excruciating. He's like this. He's like, come on, come on. And he keeps trying to pull him. And Andrew's like, what? One more, one more. Oh my God. It is so great. And then Yang also, like, he posts some really weird shit on Twitter, but he also did, you saw how Biden bit his wife's finger, right? When she was talking.
yes, so
Well, Yang
weird.
was like, just disclaimer, I like to bite my wife's finger too. And I'm just like, why? Like,
Stop.
nobody cares. Just stop. Like, do it off camera, knock yourself out. Like,
Yeah, don't
how
tell
is
us
that
your kinks.
presidential?
It's just weird. Like Andrew Yang, even though I don't agree with him politically, there is something about him that's endearing because he's such like a nice person. And I think that that's good, right? It's a good quality to have when politics are so polarized and divisive. But sometimes it's, the memes are a little bit too much. It's a little weird. But yeah, I kind of feel like I don't know what to think about Andrew Yang, honestly. He has some good ideas, like some things I like lowering the voting age to, 16, ranked choice voting. But overall, I feel like I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of at a loss for him. So I don't know what to think. Like, I don't know what ideology he has. He has some libertarian leanings, he has some progressive leanings. So he's kind of like, I can't really put him in a box. And to him, that's an asset. To a lot of voters, that's an asset. But to me, it's a negative because I want to be able to put you in a box to a degree because I want to be able to predict what you're going to do if you're in office. And if he were president, I had no fucking clue what to expect from him. But I don't think he's going to win. It doesn't seem like the polling is looking like that. So he's just enjoying himself, you can tell. And that's great. I can appreciate that. But yeah, I don't know what to think about him overall. He kind of has me like a little bit puzzled.
I tried to go that route earlier where I'm like, he just seems like a fun guy. But then I got to
Yeah,
the point that I was like, but people's lives are at stake. So
exactly.
that's the problem. Like, he's pushing, he's against raising minimum wage. He's against Medicare
Right.
for all. He's against federal jobs guarantee. He's pushing things. He's giving, comments about foreign policy that are just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you have taught these people that giving them a check is going to solve everything. You have nothing to do with racial disparity or, women disparities or solving anything that's going on in our country, which is hurting people. And I can't be okay with that. Like, I have to put the seems like a nice guy to the point where he's intelligent. He should know he's hurting people by being in the race, period. Not just because he's taking votes away in that regard, but he's hurting people by alluding to giving them something that's not going to just magically solve their problems. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know
a
if
really
that makes
great.
sense.
No, that's actually a really great point because it's like it's hard not to be hostile to anyone who isn't like part of the cause just because so much is on the line. And I kind of said something similar about Marianne Williamson where it's like she seems like a sweet lady, a little bit kooky for me, but like she's not reading the room right now. Like I don't want to hear about love. I want to hear about how you're going to crush like the opposition, like crush them and fucking break their necks. Like that's the mood that I'm in. So I kind of feel like what you're saying is Andrew Yang isn't reading the room. And to that, I totally agree. And, for me, it's frustrating because I actually, prior to him running, I supported UBI. But my understanding of UBI was that it needed to accompany a lot of other reforms because if you just give us $1,000 in late stage capitalism, that's not going to do anything. What we need is real, like systemic institutional reform. And then I think $1,000 per month would be great, once we have rent control and other types of protections for people. But, that's not the end all be all. I think that $1,000 per month, would it be helpful to people? Sure. Even in late stage capitalism to an extent, but it's not the end all be all. And you can't just use that as like, oh, well, this will solve this problem and this problem, and this problem, this problem, this problem. No, that doesn't actually solve all of the problems. So you do need like a robust policy platform, and he has a lot of policies that he supports, but they're just kind of like spurious policies that don't really all link together. It's just kind of, here's one good idea and here's one good
Yes.
idea, here's one random thing, here's this random thing. It's like I need your platform to kind of like be connected, you know, and when you kind of step back, you see a big picture with all of your policies kind of like interlinked. And I don't think that he has that organizer mentality because he came from the business world. So I want a radical. I don't want a capitalist. I want someone who is going to break up the system, and not in a Trumpian way. Trump was supposed to be, you know, that brick through the window of the establishment, and he's not. So we need someone like Bernie, who's like an FDR type figure, or as influential as Reagan, not with the policies, but in terms of like shifting political dialogue. Like that's what we need. And Andrew Yang, he's not that. He's a nice guy, but yeah, we don't have time for a nice guy. Like it's hard to excuse that when we have like 11 years to act on climate change, when people are dying every single year because of healthcare. So yeah, I think you kind of nailed it in saying that. Like it's not, read the room, basically.
Yeah. And then I got sidetracked. We were before we went live, we were talking a little bit about Biden and what he said to that guy this morning or last night about, he called him fat, first of all, which was not okay. And
yeah, how fucked up is that?
What's that?
How fucked up is that?
That is so gross. I mean, that just blows my mind. There was a guy, for those watching who didn't see it, there was a guy at a town hall with Biden this morning, and he was challenging Biden on, I mean, town halls are, you know, you're going to get asked by people who are not fans. That, I mean, you risk that. And the guy said something about Hunter Biden got a job in the Ukraine as well and has no experience. He wants to know if Biden got him that job, blah, blah, blah. And Biden said, "You're a damned liar," and then called him fat. So then, you know, and that is so Trumpian. Was that your first thought, Mike? That was what I first thought of.
Yeah, and this is what I was thinking. Like, it's unbecoming because, like, even Hillary Clinton, even though I loathe her, like, she was presidential, for lack of a better word. Like, what Joe Biden is doing is he's giving away all of the buttons that Trump has to push. Like, now Trump knows he just brings up Hunter Biden and he'll become unraveled at a debate. Like, Joe Biden would be crushed by Donald Trump because even though Donald Trump is always belligerent, like there's a type of like non-seriousness to it. Like he always seems half serious when he's angry. But with Joe Biden, like I could imagine a scenario where he genuinely like gets up in Trump's face at a debate and says, "Say it to my face. You want to go outside?" Like he threatened to punch Trump, I think, before like the primary began or something.
Back around the schoolyard and
right. It's like you're unhinged, like, and you're not. This is not your time. Your moment has passed. You had a great run. You were the vice president. Step the fuck aside. You just called someone fat who showed up to your town hall. Bye. And what are you doing?
Challenged him to push-ups and stuff.
Who does that? That is so weird. Like, what the fuck?
Every time something like that happens, I think, oh my God, if Bernie did that, like, oh my God.
Right?
No.
There'd be calls for him to drop out. Yes. If Bernie called someone fat, it'd be over. His campaign would be over. But Biden gets the pass.
People taught him about roaches in the pool, and he likes little kids jumping on his lap.
Oh God, done.
Done.
The things that people get away with whose name isn't Bernie Sanders is astounding.
Oh my God. And then a climate activist, this keeps happening with climate activists, went up to Biden again today and said, "Why did you hire someone on your team who has worked for fracking and stuff?" And Biden puts his hand on his shoulder, which is just a form of manipulation. He's always touching someone. And long story short, he told the guy, "Well, if you want to stop fracking, you better vote for someone else." So here he is telling more people, choose someone else. Like he's not only not trying to earn their votes, he's literally saying, "I encourage you to go somewhere else."
Yep. Because
That's a
he's
good way to
entitled.
campaign.
Right? He just thinks that he was vice president. It's his turn. He should get it now, right?
Yep.
That's his whole mentality. And even though he's probably slightly to the left than Hillary Clinton politically, he's way worse of a politician than Hillary Clinton. I mean, Hillary Clinton is terrible. That's no like compliment to Hillary Clinton, but he doesn't even know how to put on like the fake face, like the fake laugh. He doesn't know. He's just unfiltered, and he says what's on his mind, and he clearly has no time for anyone who disagrees with him. It's just basically fuck off. And it's really disgusting. If he is the nominee, like, he is going to lose to Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
I have no doubt in my mind, and I think Pete Buttigieg is another one. And the more that I see her, Elizabeth Warren would lose as well. Like, I'm losing hope at the prospects of Donald Trump losing, and part of that is because even though polls show that, you know, Donald Trump is in bad shape, he can still win the Electoral College again, even if he loses the popular vote. And if the economy, you know, at least is talked about as being good, even though we know that it's not good for working people, but, you know, presidents who are incumbents already have an advantage. And if the economy is perceived to be good, that's an added benefit. So we need someone who's going to get in there and just really run an amazing campaign. Bernie is the only one, and even Bernie isn't a foregone conclusion, but he's the best bet. Biden, no way he's beating Trump. No, not a chance.
Nope. You need to be, we learned in 2016, if you're not encouraged, if you're not passionate, you're not going to the polls. You're not.
Exactly.
Bernie gets people hype.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. I mean, you don't have over 1 million volunteers unless you're getting people riled up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, okay. So the last thing we'll touch on is that there's 6 people qualified for the debate for December. Mm-hmm. I believe they have 4 more days. So right now we have Bernie, Biden, Warren, Buttigieg, and Steyer and Bloomberg. So,
Bloomberg did qualify.
He bought himself in. Just like Steyer did. So, you know, people, the Kamala supporters are absolutely blaming Bernie for Kamala dropping out. I don't know why.
That's so weird.
I've seen 2 different videos by guys who have said that they will write her in and that they will make Bernie's life a living hell.
That's so stupid.
Also, the one was taking pictures of a casket and saying, hey, Bernie, would you like this? It's only $5 on Groupon. Things like that. I'll send it to you. It's so disturbing.
That's so unhinged.
I tagged Kamala and I said, do you support this? Like, is this okay? So her supporters are just going batshit crazy towards Bernie. He never said a bad word to her. I don't know.
Yeah.
So in any case, when they really should be mad that Steyer and Bloomberg bought themselves in and she dropped out. Like, if you're going to be mad at someone, actually, they should be mad at their candidate. But,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, so those 6 are in so far. Julian Castro, I believe, is somewhat close, but he has not made it. I believe Tulsi made the money, but has not made the polls. I'm 100% okay with just 6 of them, to be quite honest. What do you think?
Well, even if it's like, if we go back to 12, like, separate that. There cannot be 12 people on a stage, because that is too many people. And I'm not under this, you know, delusion that the debates will become more substantive. But the problem is that when you have so many people on a stage, like, they're just all trying to get sound bites, and you don't learn anything about their policies. Like, you learn nothing about them. So 6 would be great. But I mean, if others qualify, then awesome. The only 2 who I'm 100% against are Bloomberg and Steyer, because buying your way onto a debate is antithetical to democracies. But if everyone else qualify, awesome. Good for them. Just don't do them all on one debate stage. Like, that's too much, and it doesn't help anyone, and it just exhausts people. But, you know, it's hard to say, you know, if the debates will really have an impact, because I kind of feel like there hasn't been much substance, and they've only gotten worse as time went on. Like, each debate, and I've kind of like I pulled my audience a little bit, not like direct pull, but I kind of said I don't know if anyone feels the same way, but I feel like these debates are getting worse, and I don't know if that's just me like growing tired with the whole process itself, or if they actually are objectively getting worse. And people basically responded saying, no, it actually is getting objectively
Absolutely.
worse. The questions are getting worse. The moderation is getting far worse. Why is Amy Klobuchar talking as much as Bernie Sanders, more in some instances, when she's polling at 1%? Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. If you want to have a debate, then you can't just focus on like 30 different issues. Like, narrow it down, do like 3 issues: foreign policy, healthcare, climate change. Like, why are we asking them about impeachment? Like, impeachment is important, but I don't need to know what the presidential candidates think of impeachment, because we're looking at their campaigns for a post-Trump, era.
Exactly.
So I don't care what they say about impeachment. Like, they can talk about that afterwards. I don't need to know what Andrew Yang is going to say to Vladimir Putin in the first phone call after he's elected. Like, these questions are so stupid. Cut out the closing statements, or cut out the opening statements, definitely. Like, just cut to the chase, basically, and stop allowing the moderators to ask questions. Like, they all kind of, it seems like last time they were each asking their own set of questions, when it's like, no. Like, have really broad topics and focus on those topics for a while and give everyone the chance to weigh in. Otherwise, how are you going to allow viewers to know where they stand? Like, asking
Right.
2 people about white supremacy, Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang, well, how is that beneficial if you're not asking the other people who are on the stage? Like, I don't know what Kamala thinks about white supremacy, or Elizabeth Warren, if I'm a viewer who doesn't know already. So they have to do better. And at this point, I'm kind of like losing faith in the debates themselves. It's a tool for name recognition. That's kind of what I see them as. And if you're a burner, he has the name recognition this time. So if you're a smaller candidate, then that's going to be important to you. But for us, I don't think it's going to make or break, Bernie Sanders. I don't want the billionaires to be on there, because I'm sorry, you can't have a democracy if people can buy their way into politics. Like, I couldn't buy my way onto that debate stage if I wanted to, so they shouldn't be able to. You couldn't buy your way on that stage.
Hey, I
So
would set up a GoFundMe. Would you guys chip in to get me on there? That'd be awesome. I'll be filling in for Bernie Sanders tonight. Actually,
your impression is spot on.
The other thing I wanted to get your opinion on, do you know who Yamiche is?
That sounds very familiar.
She I think it's Yamiche. She writes for New York Times, top 5 Bernie basher of all times. She interviewed me for the New York Times and took my quote out of context, and it was bad. So I've known her for like 3 years, and her anti-Bernie rants. She's going to be one of the moderators.
Oh, goody.
Yeah. The second I saw that, I'm like, oh, fuck. It's not going to be pretty. It's not. I mean, she's going to go hard. She is 100% Bernie bro myth. Like, Bernie bro, they're all white, they're all mean, it's yeah.
Okay, they shouldn't be allowed to host the debate if that were the case. Like, I acknowledge that I am not someone who'd be appropriate to host the debate, because I couldn't possibly be like impartial. People know that I'm biased towards Bernie. So if you're biased against Bernie, then no, you don't get to host the debate. Like, why is that acceptable? And PBS, by the way, I know that they're part of it. It's PBS and Politico, right, who are hosting it this time, I believe. They just did a 56-minute segment, I'm not sure if you saw this, where they left out Bernie. They mentioned Steve Bullock, Joe Sestak, no Bernie. John Delaney. Like, how it's comical. It's comical.
PBS. We used to trust these people. We used to trust NPR. We used to trust PBS. Like, they're all just proving how corrupt they are. It's sad. It's
PBS used to be like amazing.
I know. Like, oh my God. It's really unreal. Like, okay, top 3 since the day he announced, more donations than anyone. Oh, wait, shit. We didn't have time for him. Sorry. I actually, someone posted the list of people who have run and dropped out at this point. There's already been 14 people who have run and dropped out.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
Holy
Isn't that
shit!
insane?
But there's
Yeah.
still 15 in there.
It's crazy to me.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you before we go. So, Kamala dropping, a lot of people were celebrating, and I get it. But my fear is the more centrist candidates that are in, the more they split the vote, the higher delegates we get. So I don't want to celebrate that shit right now. Like I kind of want these people to stay in. People are saying Julian should drop out, Cory Booker should drop out, and they're both saying they might. I kind of want them in there. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see like your opponents drop out, but I'm with you 100%. They're essentially splitting votes. Like Bernie's not going to get Kamala's voters. Like
No,
maybe he'll get like 3, but he's not getting Kamala's votes. So
they're
that's going
going
to
to
give,
Warren.
yeah, that's going to give Warren a boost, and it may give Buttigieg a boost to a degree. Yeah. So I want them to stay in because once that vote starts to consolidate, they're going to pull votes and get more pledged delegates, and they'll be more competitive. Whoever is like the one who's like the last standing will go up against Bernie. Bernie's in this to the very end because he has enough money to stay in. So it's just a matter of which centrist can go the distance, and they increase the likelihood that they will go the distance if they all pull votes. It's everyone versus Bernie, and the more that they split the votes, the better off we are because delegates are awarded proportionally. So, it's really, really important that we have the highest percentage we can possibly have, and they have the lowest percentage that they can possibly have, and they do that when they all kind of like distribute that support, among different candidates. I'm not sure who specifically will get it. I think you're probably right that Warren will get a lot of Kamala support. Maybe Cory Booker, possibly Joe Biden, but probably not too much. But yeah, her being out technically isn't great for us. And it's kind of a harsh fact.
Yeah, yeah. So what's the leaving thought you want to leave our viewers with?
Oh man, there's a lot, but I'll leave on a pro Bernie message. This is basically what I tell myself. 30 years from now, when I am, an old person and I look back to this moment, there will be no question that we're going to really all recognize the significance of this moment. And we were kind of like at a crossroads. Just ask yourself at that time, 30 years down the road, will I look back at this moment and feel confident knowing that I did everything I could to fight for Bernie Sanders? That's the one thing. And I can guarantee you that the answer is going to be no, because there's always something more that we can do. And I fully acknowledge that we have very, very busy lives, and some of us can't phone bank. We can't get out there. Maybe we have social anxiety, but just make sure that you do everything in your power to fight, because this is truly like a turning point, not just like in US history, but in humanity's history. Like, we need to save the planet. So if we get a Bernie Sanders presidency and a Jeremy Corbyn, Labor victory, the world could literally change for the better, and we could witness that. So 30 years down the line, we don't want to look back at this as the moment where we could have stopped an apocalypse or saved the world. Like, just know that your contribution is incredibly important, even if it doesn't feel like that. Even if as an individual, you feel like your contribution is insignificant, whatever you do, it's helping. And try to do even more, because this is crucial. It's a big moment. And I know that I'm preaching to the choir because you all know that. If you watch Joy's show, you know that. But it's nice to be reminded. And I even have to ask myself, am I doing more? Have I talked to every single person I know, like the easy gets, and my family and my friend, my social circles? Am I doing more? The answer is no. I could do more. I think we all could. So yeah, I'll leave that there.
Awesome. That gave me goosebumps. I'm going to quote you on that. Well, kind of quote you. I'm going to tweet it. I'll just
Nice.
paraphrase. Um, and give the viewers your deets, like your YouTube, your Twitter handle, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so you can find all of that at humanistreport.com. It's kind of like the hub where you can go to my YouTube channel, my Twitter page. On Twitter, I'm at Humanist Report, and there's a link to my YouTube channel there as well. Or you could just look me up at the Humanist Report, or find me here on Joy's show once in a while.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I haven't heard back from Bernie's campaign yet. Just, I know some of you guys have been asking. It's been 2 weeks and we had a holiday, so I'm trying to be patient. But I'm hoping I get that second interview, because then I'll be going to New Hampshire to work for as a regional field director. So it's kind of a big title there. So I'm not sure, but
that's huge, and you're gonna get it.
Hope so. I'll tell them all the shit. You know, if they decline me, I'll be like, excuse me, Mike from Humanist Report. If I do not end up getting the job and going to New Hampshire, I will be riding with 8 other people in Pennsylvania. We're renting a van and driving to Iowa to help caucus for Bernie. So we're just going to be door knocking and doing everything we can in Iowa for a week to try and help get that vote out, because it's less than 60 days away. So either way, I'm going out of state to do something for Bernie. And then the last thing I want to say is next week, Monday, I do have my buddy Cavernacle coming back. He's in the UK.
I love him.
What's that?
I love him.
Oh, you know him?
Yeah. I don't know him personally. I watched his show. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah, I like his show.
He's gonna pee. Are you serious?
Oh, really? Yeah, he's super smart. He's great. Yeah. He's brilliant. I love him.
Does he know?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
I'm not sure.
His pants.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you should have him on too. I'm going to have him Monday because I want to talk to him about their vote Friday. I mean, this is historical. This is like, we are watching. We please vote Labor. Please, please, please. Oh, man. So yeah, that's Monday. And 9 p.m. Eastern as usual. But his accent is so, and he calls me, he says, I'm a nice lady. He calls me a lady, which is, nobody calls me a lady ever. So
I love that. I wish I had a British accent. It just sounds so cool.
I know what you mean. I always pretend like I do, even though I don't.
That's so good. I watch the British Bake Off and I'm just envious.
I taught a 3-hour training class at my old job with a British accent and nobody questioned it.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's amazing. I that is like such a cool accent. I mean, I think all accents are really cool. Just because it's different. So it's like, oh, that's cool. That's different than, you know, what I have. But I've always admired the British accent a lot. It just sounds fucking dope. Yeah, just like you just sound intelligent and smart. Like I love it.
I know what you mean. So thank you so much for joining us again, Mike.
Thank you.
I love you to pieces. You're
the feeling is mutual. Thank you for the invite. Of course, we will do this again. Yeah, we'll vent together. We'll be in touch, of course.
Absolutely. Much love. Thank you guys for watching. Much love to you guys as well. Good night.